Hello and welcome to Hopewell's holiday video series funded by Bell Let's Talk. We hope you enjoy today's video.
Hopefully you can all see this. So welcome to the Path to Self-Love workshop. Like I said, I am Camille and I am a volunteer at Hopewell. There you go. So I think it's a good reminder for everyone that love doesn't need to be earned. When it comes to eating disorders, oftentimes we feel like we need to earn food, we need to earn love, we need to be liked. And this is a good reminder for everybody that you don't need to earn it. It's granted to you when you're born. You just have to remind yourself of it. So I want you to close your eyes and take a few minutes, a few instants, and maybe even put your hand on your heart and listen to this song. It always helps me when I'm feeling more down or anxious, and I think it's really beautiful, the message behind it.
Things my family did. I am not the voices in my head. I am not the pieces of the brokenness inside. I am light. I am light. I am light. I am light. I am light, I am light. I am light, I am light. I am light, I am light. I'm not the mistakes that I have made, or any of the things that cause me pain. I am not the pieces of the dream I left behind. I am light. I am light. I am light. I am light. I am light, I am light. I am not the color of my eyes. I am not the skin on the outside. I am not my age. I am not my race. My soul inside. Oh, I am light, I am light. piece of it all. I am light.
I hope it helped you feel a little bit better. So this is kind of the feeling that I want you to go back to when it gets hard. Okay. Oop. Shoot. Ah. Sorry, a little bit of problem here. Let's see. Okay, so why does it keep doing that? There you go. Okay, so as I said earlier, I ask you to have some paper and a pen or write on your phone. So I want you to make a list of what do you value in others, what do you admire about yourself, what are you proud of for accomplishing, what makes you special, and what makes you human. So if you can write those questions down, and then I'm gonna give you 1 minute to just think, and we'll get back to it later. So I think it's important to remember that oftentimes jealousy and comparison is only to show you that it's something that you desire, it's something that you want. But you have to remind yourself that others are a mirror. And what you appreciate in others is oftentimes something that you do have in yourself, but you just don't see it. And oftentimes when there's little things that annoys you about others, it's something that deep down you haven't accepted about yourself. And I think it's really important when you feel down to remind yourself of what you admire and what are you proud of accomplishing. Because we've all made big and small steps every single day, and it's so important to remind yourself of that. And also, it's important to remember that we're all unique and rare in our own ways, but we're also all human, and we can't expect perfection. And it's good to be aware that we all have things in common, but we also all have our own spark. So here you see some words. I'm going to ask you to choose 3 of all those words that represent yourself. And you can write it down. So we have compassionate, thoughtful, honest, disciplined, ambitious, adventurous, nurturing, bold, calm, patient, passionate, curious, cheerful, spontaneous, open-minded, caring, reliable, easygoing, energetic, clever, witty, studious, loyal, kind, conscientious, reliable, creative, gentle, patient, humble, clever, brave, affectionate, generous, charming, outgoing, organized, diligent, perceptive, attentive, wise, insightful, and ingenious. So pick 3 that you think represent yourself the most. And if you realize those are all positive traits, and that's the thing, we oftentimes think, oh, like I'm stupid, or oh, I'm needy, or all those negative things. But it's really important to switch them around. So instead of, and I'll talk about it a little bit in another slide, but instead of saying, sorry, I'm so needy, you can say, thank you for being there for me. So it's really, really, really important to switch negative thoughts to positive ones, because you might not realize it at the time, but throughout a day, if you don't do it, you'll have a bunch of negative thoughts just running around your mind. And that's what, at the end of the day, makes a difference in your self-esteem. So when a negative thought comes up, ask yourself, is this serving me? Is this serving me? Is this helping me grow? Is this helping me be a better person? Or is this only making me feel bad about myself? So what is self-esteem? Self-esteem is a personal overall sense of self-worth or personal value, a dynamic system of learned beliefs, attitudes, and opinions. So I think the important thing to remember is that there's different factors that come into play, and a big part of it is your environment in which you grew up and who and what you surround yourself with. So social media, your friends, your family. And when I talk about the environment, I also mean that society as a whole. We all know that there's discrimination happening in the world and oppression, and that plays a huge part in it too, if you're a minority. So it's not impossible to have a high self-esteem, but it might be harder because you might have more challenges. So, and your brain doesn't make the difference between what's true and what's false. That's why it's important to switch your negative thoughts to positive one, because your brain won't realize what's what. It will only take it as a fact. And so if you tell yourself, oh, I'm stupid because you made a mistake at work or at school, it will just register that as being a fact. And that's how your self-esteem will decrease. Your self-worth shouldn't be based on what you do, but who you are as a person. A lot of people base their self-esteem, their identity on their roles in society. So a mom, a worker, a boss, a sister. But who are you behind all of that? Who are you when you don't have those roles? Who are you at your core? And why is it important? Well, self-esteem is a significant predictor of life satisfaction. Self-esteem is part of the equation to be happy. So I don't know if some of you have heard about this, but there's the Maslow hierarchy of needs. It has been talked about in different ways since then, because it's been many years. But the reason I do want to show it is that you can see that at the base of the pyramid is safety and physiological needs. That means that it's hard to have a good self-esteem when you don't feel safe in your environment, which is why, which I'm going to talk about a little more later, self-care is so important, and why like self-care is like the pillar of self-esteem. So there's different manifestation of low self-esteem. We can experience anxiety when we overestimate the perceived gap between our abilities and the task itself. So there's different kind. There's the warrior, the critic, the victim, the perfectionist, the imposter syndrome, and the rebellious. Which one do you think you are? You can write it down and then we can discuss it later. So yeah, warrior, critic, victim, perfectionist, imposter syndrome, and the rebellious. Those are all manifestation of having a low self-esteem. The psychology of self-esteem. No, so low self-esteem can contribute to mental health difficulties, and I think everybody knows that. For us, I think the most common issues is eating and food issues. I think it's also important to mention that a lot of people who struggle with eating and food issues also have difficulties with boundaries. And that comes down to low self-esteem, codependency, and sometimes toxic or abusive relationship. Because when you feel like you're not worth more, that you're not worth to be treated well, that's when you let people in your life that don't necessarily want the best for you because you don't even see it for yourself. So when a statement falls too far outside our belief system, we tend to reject it. And it's called in psychology as the cognitive dissonance theory. So I know a lot of people think, well, I don't understand why like it's so hard to have a good self-esteem, to have to believe in myself. I don't understand. This is why. The human brain once it has a belief, it's going to do everything it can to keep it. That's why it's hard. So you can either keep the same belief and behavior, reject any positive feedbacks and attempt to persuade others to accept your negative belief about yourself. So you know when someone compliments you and you're like, no, like that's an old dress, like I don't even look that good, like I didn't put effort, I'm so tired. When you reject positive feedbacks, you're basically telling others that you don't deserve to be appreciated. And that's another reason why we also apologize so much, because we feel like we owe other people our happiness and like we're not in charge of our own self-worth. Or the third option, you can change your perspective and lean into the discomfort. Because one thing that's interesting is with the cognitive dissonance theory is that there's also the self-prophecy. So when you reject positive feedbacks, people might not start necessarily to believe you, but they're not going to be, if you always reject the positive feedback, so the compliments, they're not going to want to keep giving you positive feedbacks and compliments and all of that. So in the end, you're going to end up with reaffirming your belief that you're not good enough or you don't deserve those compliments, only because we're always in interaction with our environment. And so it reacts to us and how we are in the world, if that makes sense. If you have any questions, let me know. So I think I'm a big fan of mantras. I think it's really important. And so I would love it if tomorrow morning you could, when you wake up, and then maybe even tonight, just place a hand on your heart and say, I am worthy, I am lovable, and I am beautiful. You might not believe them. And that's the thing, right? Like, you might not believe it, but your brain doesn't know if it's true or false. So, after a while of just saying it and reaffirming it, your brain will start picking it up. And so that's why they say fake it till you make it. So, what is self care? Self care is intentional actions to take care of your physical and mental being. It's often hard to maintain for people struggling with trauma or mental health issues, which I will be talking more about trauma and mental health issues in my third workshop. And self-soothing skills and distress tolerance skills all help us maintain stability and strength of self. It's an important part of the healing process. And so I think the biggest difficulty with people is that they don't make their self-care a priority. You need to almost schedule it into your day and your week and your month. It If you need alone time, you need to respect that boundary that you have with yourself, and you need to be straightforward with people about it. If someone asks you, hey, do you want to come over tonight? But you know you need the time to recharge, it's so important to respect your needs. And that's part of self care. So, self care has physical, emotional, social, and personal. So, that includes intuitive eating, which you might have gone to Kristen's workshop on it. It includes movement. Again, I didn't write exercise because there's a big difference for me. Exercise is a lot about the diet culture, which I will be talking more about my next workshop. But movement is really just moving your body to feel good. It's all about the feelings, not what you look like. And then sleep. Sleep is so important, but most people are overproductive and they forget that it makes such a difference. And then medical care, if you're not keeping on top of your appointments, that will show. And then rest, obviously counseling, therapy, or coaching, creativity, and play. Lots of people are all about work, and a lot of people with eating disorders issues are about like perfectionism and productivity. And we often forget how to be creative and play and relax and enjoy and have pleasure. So those are all really important parts of the emotional self-care. And then spirituality. So that includes religion, but not necessarily. It can be like meditating or yoga, or even just listening to a song that makes you feel good, that makes you feel connected to yourself, like the one I put at the beginning of the workshop. And then we have for social, like positive relationship and friendship. Like I said, the environment around yourself really influence you. So make sure that you have people that don't put you down. Support group, which is Hopewell has some, and I'm sure some of you went to. And boundaries as personal organization. So, like I said, it's important to plan your self-care, not to just let it happen. Technology, it's not healthy to be on your phone 24/7. You need a break. So, yeah, make sure technology and finances, those are usually the two that people forget about. It's not talked about enough, but it can cause a lot of stress physically and mentally. Keep learning, speak kind words to others and to yourself, and ask for help when needed. So, 3 other questions to ask yourself. What do you need to remove from your life? What do you need to add to your life? And what have you been neglecting? Again, all about your self-care practices. So I'm going to give you a minute to write those down, maybe even think about it a little, and then we can talk about it later. And you can go back to it when you forget or you're unsure. So what do you need to remove from your life? What do you need to add to your life? And what have you been neglecting? And you've probably seen this before, but there's a lot of ideas on the internet. If ever you can't think of one, even just drinking some delicious tea helps, or cuddling a pet can make a difference. Stop expecting happiness, you'll find it faster. So I think a big problem with our society is we have such high expectations of how things should be with ourselves and with others. Then when it doesn't happen, we are unhappy. And so also that comes back to, when I'll lose X amount of weight, then I'll be happy. When I'll make X amount of money, then I'll be happy. Those are all expectations, and it's all about a future goal, which is not a wrong thing to have future goal, but it shouldn't be, it should be more flexible. It should be more about the feeling than the thing itself. And obviously you've all heard the happiness comes with the journey, or something similar to that. It's because if you keep thinking about the future, you'll miss all the beautiful moments that are in the present. So what is self-love? Joy and pleasure are radical acts of self-love and empowerment. Self-love is about having your best interest at heart. It's making hard decisions and taking daily actions for your health, your happiness, and your growth. It's choosing yourself time after time. It's owning your beauty and your shadows. So a big part of self-love, people think it's just, okay, yes, like positivity. Oh, you have a bad thought, don't think about it. But a big part of self-love is also taking responsibility and learning. It might sound weird, but learning to love your shadows, learning to accept your past, learning to forgive your mistakes. And you can't have one without the other. It's taking responsibility for your healing and giving yourself compassion. It's believing in yourself even when others don't. A person who loves themselves wants to become the best they can be. But again, this is not about perfection or always doing more. It's about being more. And that's like so important, a big difference. So like I said, inner work. And if you look, so a question that I always ask myself when I'm about to do something that's, let's say, toxic for me, I always ask myself, if you love yourself, what would you do? If I love myself, what would you do? If I love myself, I would take a bath, I would take a walk, what else would you do? But if the answer is I wouldn't do that, that's a good indication that you're not taking care of yourself. how to practice self-care. It might look different for everyone, from bubble bath, that's what we see the most online, to putting on your favorite dress, to making sure you're keeping up with your meds. So again, self-care has very different levels. It's the base and the luxurious. So bubble bath are pretty awesome, but if you only do that, you'll be missing out on a big part of self-care, which is on your day-to-day life. What are you doing to take care of yourself? It can be if you need your meds, if you need to take a shower. It can be really basic, small things in your routine. For me, it's journaling every night. So it might be small things, but it adds up. It always does. So what does it look like for you? And I put this video here because I'm a big fan of Demi, and I think her song I Love Me shows a important side of self-love and self-care. It's about owning up to your past and your shadows, like I said. You can listen to it another day because we're already running a bit late, and I want to have time for you to share your feelings. So there you go. Okay, sorry about that. What if there's nothing wrong with you? What if, like, keep that thought in mind. What if there's nothing wrong with you? If you could have everything you wanted, if you could do anything you wanted, what would it be like? We often think of the worst. And although it might be reassuring because then you feel prepared for it, it's also not helpful necessarily. So 10 ways to love yourself more. Practice gratitude. Surround yourself with people that support and inspire you. Spoil yourself, like I said, be luxurious. That can look like buying yourself flowers. Lots of people don't do that, but it makes you feel appreciated by yourself, and that's important. Maybe even take yourself on a date. Maybe not right now with COVID, but like in general, like learn to treat yourself like you're worthy of it. Positive affirmations. And one thing that I do want to say is positive affirmations, yes, but maybe try something that is more new. If you've been growing up all your life and having really a lot of self-hate and a lot of negative thoughts, positive affirmation won't necessarily do it right away. So maybe find a middle ground. Find neutral affirmations. So instead of saying, oh, I hate my body, to, oh, I love my body, there's a middle. And it can be, I appreciate my body for what it did for me today. Or my body is a good way for me to stay connected to, if you believe in a higher power, to God, or something like this. So something that rings truer to you, but that is still doesn't make you feel like it's out of reach. Like I said, let go of expectations, embrace your dark side, feel your feelings, spend time alone. Lots of people are scared to have any time alone. They're always surrounded with people, and with COVID right now, that's why it's so hard. Obviously, don't spend all your time alone. Do reach out to people, but it's important to be comfortable, to get comfortable with yourself, to know that you know yourself and you like what you hear in your head. Give yourself a break. You can't be perfect all the time. You'll make mistakes. It's human, it's normal. And stop people pleasing. Stop putting others before you, because you've heard it before, but you can't pour from an empty cup. I've said most of them already, but my personal tips are: get to know yourself, discover your life story, learn to forgive, do more of the things you love, spend your energy wisely, clean your life of negativity. So that means also online. Unfollow anything that doesn't make you feel good. Block anyone that isn't for your best interest, that isn't uplifting. It's one thing to share and be vulnerable, and it's another to want to bring others down with you, or even if it's not their intention, if you are perceiving it as comparison, that's not good either. Spend time in nature, invest in your hobbies. Again, it's about feeling worth of having time to enjoy yourself. Journal and meditate. No phone in bed. Dance to your favorite song. Have realistic goals. Learn not to take things too personal. So that was a hard one for me to learn. But people, like I said earlier, people are mostly a reflection. Everybody is a reflection of themselves. So find a reflection of them in others. So when someone rejects you, or you might take it as a rejection, remember that it has more to do with them than it has to do with you. It's more about their own insecurities than yours. And that's why communication is so big and so important. Put more colors in your life. If you're already always in black, that's not gonna help. And it's one thing to like it, but it's one thing to have everything in shades of gray. Simplify your to-do list. Don't have, again, it comes back to having too many expectations. Simplify and don't be overproductive. Keep it simple. Create a routine that you enjoy. Stop apologizing so much. Smile more. Prioritize your happiness. Be devoted to yourself. And if self-love feels unattainable for you at the moment, it's okay to try with self-acceptance first. So it's self-acceptance is a lot like mindfulness. It's just realizing that it's there and it's okay. You don't need to change it yet. It's okay. You don't like yourself. That's okay. And it's okay to just be the way you are right now. Doesn't mean you won't change and you won't try to become better or like yourself more later. But right now, at the moment, it feels hard, and that's okay. Your problem is you're too busy holding onto your unworthiness, which is true. I find that it takes as much effort to try and be good to yourself than it takes to be mean to yourself. And it's all about which wolf you want to feed. Here's other 5 questions to ask yourself, which is, what do I really want in life? What am I no longer willing to accept? What makes me happy? Are my current habits enabling me to live the life I want? And how can I add value to this world? And I think those questions are, you should ask yourself those questions. I do it like almost every month because it's good to come back to it and see if your life is in alignment with your desires and your needs. For me, that's what happiness is, a balance between what you want and what you need. Yeah, so I'll repeat it just so you have time to write it down. What do I really want in my life? What am I no longer willing to accept? What makes me happy? Are my current habits enabling me to live the life I want? And how can I add value to this world? How can I add value to this world is about finding your purpose. Awareness is the first step, and then you have to feel worthy of it. You have to feel worthy of your life. You have to feel worthy of your love. And like I said at the beginning, we forget it, but we are all born worthy. We are all born with the capacity to love ourselves and love others. We just forget it because of society. So thank you. That was my workshop.